but it's more than basic. It's a portion of its rap, but the core is ancient. It's supported like a pack of some more observations are important, like the fact that we're bored of fake shit. More creative, have the floor, so take it. Travel to the core is a normal placement. Tattoos on my arm and
Alright guys, here's what happens on recording day at Tattoo with Children. I wake up, open my eyes, I roll over and grab my phone immediately to check and see if there's any emergency messages on my phone. If there are no emergency messages, I then get up, go to the bathroom, I go back, put on some clothes, brush my teeth, grab my keys, and head immediately out the door to drive to 302 Mantooth. I drive up. Usually, Pirate Ben and CIO No are outside having a conversation or just kind of hanging out because it's early for everyone. I get out, grab a waiting cup of coffee, usually, grab a cigarette, and at the end of that cigarette, one of the three of us will go, hey, let's go podcast, and then we march into the booth, and I do a 50-second mic check for TikTok, and then I begin talking just like I'm doing now. That is all the preparation that happens for this podcast. Once we do the podcast, we start talking. We'll talk for about an hour, close to an hour, and then I will do a fresh intro like this one, and then I'll do a fresh outro like the one that's gonna have at the end, and then we post. That's it. That's all. Like there's some minor editing I think that Mike does. But other than that, like there are no cuts usually, unless we're cutting out interruptions from the dogs. There's no cuts in the conversation. So you get this as raw and unfiltered as I possibly can. If it sounds at any moment as if I've practiced this or rehearsed it or wrote it down or even thought of it before I started speaking, that is completely incidental to just my personality. It's just how I am. I promise you, this may be the most authentic podcast in existence because I don't know any better. If I could do better, I would. Trust me. But this is the best I can do right now. So if you don't like my personality, which that's fine. If you don't like my personality, it's probably not the podcast for you. However, if you do like my personality, you like the way I speak on the mic, then welcome, because you are now with Tattoo with Children. I am your host on Tattoo with Children, Flavor A and Seat A. Across from me in Seat B, drawing some dope art, is the Dread Pirate Benjamin. Across from us both, on the engineering panel, doing the great things he always does, is CIO No Pain. Fellas, we are in the midst of episode 40.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
It's a highly important episode.
You know what? It's not actually. It's not important.
Our first disagreement
I'm
of the day.
pretty sure that you guys just don't remember why it's an important episode.
We don't.
We don't at all.
I'm not even sure I should say it on the microphone.
I think you should.
No, shout it out now, because I don't know.
Episode 40 was the marker episode for starting to talk about something that we've been very hesitant to have conversations about.
Ah, yes. Okay. I'm remembering.
God. It's not that, is it?
It's the thing.
That's the
thing.
Fuck.
That's the thing.
That's the marker episode.
Right. That's what we said we were going to do.
Okay.
So now people are going to find out that, despite not being great conversationalists, we're also liars.
Yeah.
Because we are not, in fact, talking about that thing today. I'm just going to throw that out there right now.
I was just about to say that. So, guys, I'm terribly sorry. The subject that Mike is talking about, I'm really glad he had the good sense to not actually say it out loud, because we're not talking about that today.
Yeah.
I thought for sure I'd be ready at episode 40. I'm not. You're not. None of us are. If I talked about that subject right now, it would break everything, so we're not going to do it. But what we will talk about, as soon as the dogs are quiet for a moment, thank you, puppy. What we will talk about is the good things in life. Like this, one of the things that I noticed about myself over the course of this podcast is how often I am very effusive of other people. I give other people a lot of kudos, a lot of celebratory, handshakes and hand gestures and hugs, and I very rarely do that for myself. I'm very bad at self-care. So, I'll go out and I'll get onto my wife a lot of the times about listen, you can't take care of other people to take care of yourself, right? You can't be that person that is always going and doing for their kids, for their husband, for their parents, and never doing for themselves. That leads to being a upset individual who is resentful. And then I turn around and I will not do that for me. Like, I don't take that time to just be like, you know what? I'm going to treat myself. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because I was watching Parks and Rec for the 80th time, and I'm talking about the entire series. And I got to the Treat Yourself episode. It's a 2011 episode, and the Treat Yourself Day is when two of the characters, they just take one day to go out and spend whatever they want on whatever they want. It's the day that they block out to be as selfish as possible. And it's something that it's foreign to me. It's a foreign concept to just go out and be selfish and spend all my money on me these days. Like when I was a kid, I mean like 24, 25, that's all I spent my money on. Was shit for me. Now I can't even imagine doing that. Like but I think I should. I think that it's a healthy thing to go out and treat yourself. Just be like, this is something for me. Like, well, this is the kids' college fund. Fuck that. I'm taking that money for me. Say, well, this is for that special anniversary present. We'll do something else for that. We'll do something cheaper. This is for me. And so I just want to say congratulations to me for being so dope, and B, guys, when are we going to treat ourselves? You out there and you in here, guys. When last time that you went out and treated yourself? Like, be honest.
You watched me.
I watched you?
Yeah.
I did not intend to do that.
You watched me treat myself.
What? No.
That triple Whataburger.
Oh, okay, God. I was scared shitless. Like, dude, I have not seen Mike treat himself. That is not something I'm into.
I was not aware that was a code word for something specific.
It just sounded like that. Like, I don't remember doing that.
You watched me.
Wow.
But yes, I did watch him eat a triple Whataburger.
I was treating myself right there, that one.
I'm just going to go ahead and point out, I did not, in fact, watch that.
No, he didn't.
I kept my head down the entire time.
I could not watch it.
See, that's one of the rules though of the honey butter chicken biscuit.
Don't look your partner in the eye when you're
when you eat the honey butter chicken biscuit from Whataburger, you do not make eye contact.
So it's
true, because you're getting butter and biscuit all over the place.
You have the same rules for intake on that one that you have for output, right?
Yeah.
Input and output have the same rules. When you're outputting, you also don't look your next door neighbor in the eye.
Exactly. You don't even acknowledge that person exists. like for my females in the listening, like dudes at a urinal, like we'll be standing shoulder to shoulder, and I mean literally shoulder to shoulder. Yeah, there's no acknowledgement of that whatsoever.
I mean, that's why Buc-ee's is so damn popular. It's
That's one of the reasons.
Every urinal is like a self-contained. You fit your whole body in there. And you don't have anybody around you. There's literally a wall between you and the next person.
The Buc-ee's in Madisonville is the only place in Texas where I have a favorite stall. Is the Buc-ee's
Those
in
stalls
Madisonville.
are completely enclosed.
They're completely enclosed.
They're not those crappy like metal divider stalls that get a gap between the door and the wall.
No,
where
it's a full door.
some prospecting person comes in and sees if the stall is actually empty, and they catch you right in the eye as you're dropping a log. That's no fun.
Yeah. No, it's not like that at all. You actually have it's like a little hotel room at Buc-ee's. Like I'm down for that. Like this is one of the reasons why I'm people like people say like Texans are really really proud of everything and that we take a outsized measure of pride in things that aren't really that great. That's true, but it's not true of Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's is just that dope.
Yeah.
If you haven't been to Buc-ee's, go with, like, you don't even need to be traveling. Just take a special trip with your family to Buc-ee's. You will not regret it. Guaranteed. Get some beaver nuggets and go to the bathroom. You'll be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ben, when's the last time that you splurged purely for yourself on a higher ticket item? Like I know, I heard Mike said triple Whataburger, which is yes, okay, that is a splurge because who fucking needs a third patty? But it's not like it was a thing that you had to sacrifice somebody else for. Like I'm talking about when you're like, say, all right, I can either take my wife out for a $200 meal or buy her a new dress, or I can buy my kid, this new video game. I can treat them, or I can treat me, and I'm choosing to treat me.
Yeah, I mean, my head just doesn't.
It's foreign, right? It's a difficult concept.
It's a difficult concept when you're in a position that when you take care of other people, when you provide.
Right.
It's a difficult concept to say, well, what I'm going to do is I'll be a better provider, I'll be a better human, I'll be a better person if I take care of myself.
Right.
That kind of tends to come at the end, which is to say it never comes.
Yeah, it never happens.
But I mean, I've.
I'm willing to say, Ben, it's probably been about 4 years since you've actually treated yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to put a stick in it because, like when Gary Vee came out with the 002s, the K-Swiss sneakers.
Yeah.
I jumped on those, and I got that. And that was kind of a dope thing, and that wasn't 4 years ago. I'm really happy that I own those. I'm really happy that I wear those. That makes me happy. But
that was kind of a treat, but it was also kind of a. You were also kind of reaching out.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely trying to say thank you for all the free content he's put out.
Yeah.
And he puts out a ridiculous amount of free content, and I was trying to say thanks because I appreciate what he does, and I think it's making a difference. I'm just really fucking slow to change.
Right.
But like occasionally, and this is a weird confession. I don't really say shit like this often, but like occasionally, I'll take myself to lunch.
Yeah, often.
I won't tell anybody. And what taking myself to lunch generally means is going someplace like around like maybe 2:30 in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. By myself. And generally I'll try to get a seat in the bar. So like if it's a place like Chili's or Outback or something like that, mm-hmm. right? I'll try to get a place in a bar and like I'll have a steak. Mm-hmm. And I'll have one drink. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I'll just in mashed potatoes and gravy, mm-hmm. and a steak cooked the way I like it, and I'll just enjoy my meal. I generally I won't be on my phone. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll just watch the people and and just eat my food. And that's probably once a year.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I consider that to fit in your category because generally that's when I'm real bad. So I don't know if it goes in the category of self-care because I'm attempting to get myself out of a bad headspace.
Yeah, I would put that in the category of survival. Like, Ben and I have this rule in our lives, and we've stated this to ourselves and to anyone else in the earshot, that anything I do for survival is okay. Like, if I have to do this in order to live, then you can't judge what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I think that those lunches that you're talking about are in that vein.
You know what's interesting, though, is that, and this goes back to a thing that Gary Vee talks about a lot that I don't totally understand, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It's not judging yourself. So the interesting thing about what you just said is you said, you know, if I have to do it to survive, then you can't judge it. But the truth of the matter is, those are the only times that we don't judge it.
Right. Which is what we say is why we say it out loud to each other.
Yeah. Like we say it out loud because it's the one of the, and also it's so rare. It's so rare that it happens. You know, it's not like it's the third Thursday of the month and Ben did this thing for himself, so nobody judge him.
Well, what will happen is Ben will do a thing for himself, like go to this dinner or whatever, or go to lunch, or have a drink in the middle of the day, and then he'll tell me, it's like, man, I had to have a drink in the middle of the day. I had to, I went and did that thing where I sat in a restaurant by myself, and I'm like, Ben, stop, stop feeling bad about what you had to do to make it. We say it out loud so we can know when to remind each other to give ourselves a break because we almost didn't make it, but now we're going to.
Yeah, and it sounds really dire. It's not. No. I think it's more, and I think the point you're getting at is that it probably wouldn't get that dire. That I'm stuck in a mindset, that I'm stuck in a position that I feel is weighing on me, that I feel dragged down. I probably wouldn't feel that dire if I took better care of myself.
Yes, if we could actually, and when I say self-care, guys, I'm not talking about meditating or exercising or like I'm not talking about putting more work on me so that people perceive me as being healthier. So yeah, if I lost 20 pounds, I would probably be healthier. But it means that I have done 10 things that I didn't want to do in order to make that happen.
Right.
Which I'm not saying that I shouldn't do it. I should do it, but that's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about self-care. What I'm talking about is when I go out and get a massage and don't invite anybody. I don't, I'm not getting a massage because my friend the masseuse needs, the money from my massage. I'm getting it because I want the fucking massage.
Right.
I don't want to go to the person that does the best massage.
Well, and that's the interesting thing too about intention, though, because a lot of people get massages, a lot of people meditate, a lot of people eat steak, a lot of people are vegan, a lot of people go to church, a lot of people. But I think the interesting thing here is, we like to say in this society that intention doesn't matter, right? Like, well, no one gives a shit about the intention. They care about what the outcome was.
Right.
But what they don't realize is or from my perspective, what we don't realize is that puts us in a mindset of basically being on autopilot. Yeah. So in other words, you did get 3 massages this year, right? But none of them really had the effect that they needed to. Right. Because your intention maybe was survival.
My intention either survival or it was to help somebody else.
Right. Or you were on autopilot. You're like, well, I'm going to be a bad dad next week if I don't get this knot worked out of my shoulder, so I'm going to go get a massage. So in that place, it was for someone else. It was not self-care.
Right. It fundamentally wasn't self-care. It was actually a part of a pattern.
So is self-care then, does self-care, is it intention?
I think it is almost entirely intention. Like it's all about changing your mindset. That's what's so great about the episode of Parks and Rec. Because in that episode, like these guys in this episode, the treat yourself ritual is well established between these two characters. But they decide that they're going to invite someone new to the Treat Yourself ritual because he's in that mode of he's not going to make it. I mean, he's literally not going to make it. He doesn't realize it at all, and they do. And so it's like, you know what? You're coming with us, and we're going to teach you how to treat yourself enough that you can actually make it and thrive. And it's hilarious how it goes about it. But at the end of the episode, you know, he's purchased this ridiculous thing for himself that is absolutely ridiculous. But because he did it for himself, he's actually crying. You know, he's weeping with relief because he did something for himself. Dude, I think that we are all that guy. You know, I mean, I really do. Like every time I see the episode, I'm like, man, I still haven't treated myself.
Well, I think, yeah. What do you define? What do you define as treating yourself? Because, you know, earlier you mentioned like spending a lot of money or not spending money on someone else.
I don't think it's that.
I don't think it's that.
No, I think it has everything to do with you say intention, but to be more specific, it has to do with doing something, taking an action purely on your own whim and merit.
We're going to come back to that interesting definition as soon as we take a quick break here.
My name ain't Mikey, but yeah, I rock. You know why? Because I don't give a fuck. That's why it doesn't matter whether I'm...
You're back for Tattoo with Children. Mike's definition is it's in the right direction. It's not quite complete. It is taking an action of your own volition and of your own merit, but it's also taking action of your own volition and your own merit for no benefit other than yourself. See, I think that's the thing that gets me the most. Like, if you listen to the program, then you know that I had admitted an episode or two ago that I had purchased a PlayStation 4 instead of a Nintendo Switch that my daughter wanted, but I wanted a PlayStation 4. And I purchased the PlayStation 4 instead. Now, you can say that was self-care, except for there are two things that I did wrong if it was self-care. One, I asked permission. I texted my wife first, and she gave permission, gave me the go-ahead. And two, I haven't opened the box. It is still sitting in the back of my van, waiting for either my daughter's birthday or Christmas. I haven't decided which yet, to present it to her as a gift. So that is obviously not what I'm talking about. Like, even though it's something that I wanted for myself, that's not why I purchased it. And I haven't gotten the benefit of it at all. You know,
Right.
like that is well outside of what I'm talking about. Like, what will be more? What I've done that's more in that line is whenever my family goes out of town, or specifically my wife goes out of town, and I typically get in from work very late, like almost midnight. And so if she's not there, I will buy myself the prime cut steak, ribeye. It's about, $30, $40 a pound. And get about 0.7, 0.8 pounds of that, and cook and make that for myself for dinner. That's about as close as I get, but that's still not it. Because if I was treating myself, I would take myself to Republic Steakhouse and have an $80 meal, which is what I want.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to spend that much on myself for one meal
Why?
if it's just me, because why would I waste that money on
Okay,
on just food when I can make
yeah.
it? I can make it myself at home.
Okay, but we're getting into the grit of it.
Yeah.
Where's the waste?
The way, like in my mind, the waste in going to a high-end restaurant and getting high-end food made for me is that I can do it at home for a fraction of the cost. Enjoy it just as what I tell myself. I'll enjoy it just as much, and I can use the extra money for other things, bills, business, marketing, whatever. You know, it's like it's the money is wasted on. I am not personally worth that much money. Is what is actually going through my head.
So, I mean, I think an extreme example of self-care
Okay.
that might illustrate the point that I personally believe is created by buildup of a lack of self-care over many years is what people typically call a midlife crisis in men.
Okay.
Okay. The most stunning example of a midlife crisis is somebody who goes out and buys a hugely priced, flashy vehicle, you know,
Right.
a high dollar Corvette or worse, a Lamborghini, you know, simply because they can. They don't need that car.
Right.
Right.
It's barely street legal.
Yeah, they just do it because they can, right? And we say they're having a midlife crisis, right? I don't necessarily know that's a midlife crisis. I think that is just the culmination of a buildup of years upon years of a lack of self-care.
Yeah, I would agree with that to a certain extent, for sure. Like I think that can be a part of a midlife crisis, because I think a lot of times we get to midlife and we realize that we haven't done anything for ourselves since we were 21.
I think midlife crisis is a good topic for episode 40.
Episode 4. Episode 4. Let's talk about midlife crisis. Like I've already been through the midlife crisis, to tell you the truth, and it wasn't a time when I wanted things for myself. It was just getting to that time in my life when I realized I had never known who I was before. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like if I don't know myself at this point, am I ever going to know myself? Like it starts to get scary because the process of knowing yourself is kind of prohibited in Western society.
Yeah.
And so having to go through that process at midlife is daunting because you honestly feel like, well, I'm old now. I don't have that much. Like we want 20-year-olds to know themselves, but 40-year-olds, you know, you have to have done that work when you were 20. If you haven't done it by now, then just give up.
Right.
You know, that's.
Right. I mean,
I can't tell you level of horseshit is in that sentence.
There's your correlation, and I better understand why you see it as kind of a part of midlife is because you said you wouldn't spend that money on you because you don't think you're worth it. Well, part of knowing yourself is knowing what you're worth.
Right.
And you can't know what you're worth unless you go and spend a whole bunch of money on yourself and then asking yourself afterwards, was it worth it?
Was that worth it? That's a very good point. That could be experimental. Go out and spend a shit ton on yourself and then look back on it in a year and be like, man, I really regret doing that. I wasn't worth that much.
Well, I mean, that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is, I think this is an interesting perspective point. You know, as the older I get, the less
He's almost there, guys.
Yeah, let me try this sentence again. The older I get, the more I purchase less things, but I purchase nicer things.
Yeah.
So in
fewer
other words,
purchases, higher quality.
Yeah, so I don't have 11 hoodies like I did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I have 3.
Right.
I have a Make Big Moves hoodie, I have an Ink Gen hoodie, and I have a Long Way hoodie.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like I do I'm doing it much worse than Ben is. Like, and when I was younger, I had a collection of watches and I had a collection of coats. I love both of those things. I love watches and I love coats. Now, I don't have much opportunity to wear, large, heavy coats in East Texas. We just don't get that cold for that long. Mm-hmm. But I loved having them anyway. Like when I was in high school, I had a long black leather trench coat that I wore in just about all seasons. Like I would wear that motherfucker in May in Texas, which is crazy. But I actually did it. That's how much I loved it. And today, I honestly don't really own a coat. Like I have like 2 jackets that serve as coats, which get me through all of our 3 weeks of winter that we have here. But I don't have that $300, $400, $500, $600 coat that I had or that I would have purchased back when I was in my early to mid 20s. And I don't have plans to buy that. Like I had, when I was in my early 20s, I had Rolexes and Movados. You know, I had expensive fucking watches. Now I do own a Samsung Gear watch that's connected to my phone. Other than that, I don't have a single watch. Like those other watches, like they're like in my parents' house somewhere. But I didn't take them like on my travels. You know, I didn't travel with them, so they're in my parents' house somewhere. But I don't wear them. You know, I haven't seen them in a long time.
Right. I think for me, there's a difficulty in doing self-care as you describe it. I don't know what to buy for myself. I think the closest thing I have to anything like that right now is vape. Right. I went out. I had an old one. The bottom was busted out. It finally started to not stay on and things like that. And I have another one, a bigger one, right? And I don't want to carry that bigger one around. And it pissed me off with the newer coils. So I said, you know, this thing's a fucking jerk. I'm not going to do it anymore. So I went to the local store and found this one here, which I know the audience can't see, but it's, you know, beautiful cherry red and gold, and I was like, it's a Tony Stark vape.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the Stark Industries stickers on this motherfucker.
He's got the Iron Man vape.
I've got the Iron Man vape. And this is the only thing I could see myself going, you know what? I have an Iron Man vape. You know what I need? I need a War Machine vape.
Yeah, I can see
You know, I could see myself having a collection of these things that I don't use, I use occasionally each other one, you know?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, it's something that, if self-care in this vein, I'm talking about the treat yourself vein, this isn't something that I need. This isn't something that enhances my life practically. It's something that's make me feel good today, at the very least. You know, like, this just making me happy today. Like in the episode of Parks Rec I'm talking about, the guy, it was Tom and Donna are the guys that came up with Treat Yourself Day, and the guy they invented was Ben. And Ben, being an uber nerd, tries on a Batman outfit, a complete Batman costume. And he steps out, and they go, "Oh my God, that is literally the dorkiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life." He goes, "Yeah, you're right. I'm going to put it back." And he goes, "No, you're not." Tom looks at him and goes, "You're going to buy that, and then you're going to wear it out the store because that's making you happy." That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about self-care. It wasn't like, who knows how much the thing cost. Like, it wasn't how much it cost that was important. The important thing was this was something that had no purpose other than making this person happy. That's self-care.
And I think we apply that most often to money.
Yeah, we equate happiness with money.
Yes, and I, again, you know, just on the break here, real quick, I had to take a phone call, but on the break here, I was kind of reminded by our conversation that the conversation is so young. You know, people have heard about the internet since '96. You know, the AOL and the blogging and they think it's over.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, nothing's over. You know, if it started in '98, by the way, okay, it's 21 today. I don't know.
It's just now taking his first drink.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know shit at 21.
Yeah, I didn't know anything at 21.
So,
I was really confused at 21. But this conversation is much younger than that. Like, this episode of Parks and Rec is on for 2011.
Yeah, okay.
So that was 8 years ago.
And by the way, I don't watch Parks and Rec. So.
And what the thing about it is, everyone else did watch Parks and Rec because everyone else likes good television other than Ben. And that episode it made big waves when it hit because everybody recognized that, oh my God, I don't do that. Mm-hmm. But it was only one episode. Mm-hmm. And so it was forgotten. Like, it was literally forgotten until...
Yeah, I think some other things happened in 2011.
A few other things. Mm-hmm. And it was forgotten until Brene Brown brings up the concept again. like maybe 2 or 3 years later, Brene Brown talks about self-care being important. Mm-hmm. And then everybody's housewife is talking about self-care. And they're talking about, you know what, I got to take pedicure breaks and manicure breaks. And I got, I spend too much time with the kids. I got to stop feeling guilty about it. And all that's true. All that's fine, but that's as far as they took it. Mm-hmm. Nobody really went and talked to their husband.
Well, and I didn't read about it until 2015.
So, there you go.
So my argument is the self-care conversation
that's less than 5 years, 4 years ago.
Right, in Pirate Ben's head is a 4-year-old.
Oh God, it's even worse for me.
4-year-olds don't know jack shit.
Women,
Mike's is an infant.
Women were definitely onto this before men were.
Mike is still
newborn. Like 3 weeks ago, we had this conversation, myself and my wife.
Mike's self-care conversation is still shitting like those bright neon colors.
Yeah, his self-care conversation is on the tits still. Still,
I don't think Mike's self-care conversation is going to leave the tit. But anyway,
all right. Yes, it's going to stay on that. It's going to stay on there forever. It's going to be that weird kid in kindergarten that's getting.
Sorry, Liz.
That was a direct stab. I'm sorry, guys. This is how my mind works when I start talking about shit like. Here's the thing.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Okay.
I carry the club like Neanderthal. The choir got everybody dancing, dog. Y'all on that X, I'm a sentinel, standing tall. No time to stand still, please don't meander, dog. They're throwing jazz at me to challenge my rap savvy. I sway like Callaway, I'm ahead, you'll never catch me. Ain't worry about it unless I spit Christmas gifts.
The breastfeeding?
Yeah, lactation.
Yeah, okay. Like my wife breastfed our first kid for 3 years.
So that was when I really realized that I hated my children.
When your kids were monopolizing those luscious boobies to themselves.
So it's a very weird moment because you have this child and you love this child, and then you kind of go in for a little sneak attack. You know, like when the Mike, stop that.
Oh yeah.
You know what time it is.
Talking about the boobies.
Mike, you're gonna have to warn me before you do that, okay?
That was the trial.
So
it works.
you go in for that sneak attack, right?
Right.
And you get that quick slap.
Yeah.
And you're like, hold up, woman. We have not discussed my face being slapped when I move in for the sneak attack.
So these things are for me to play with, aren't they?
Right.
Like, no.
These are for the children.
They're very sensitive right now because your child has made them very sensitive.
Mm-hmm. These are no longer toys. These are food.
Okay, fine. But she gets it. He gets it. How come I can't have a little? Like, I'm not talking about...
Right.
A lot. I'm not trying to fill my stomach up with breast milk.
No, that's not what we're talking about. But what we are talking about is the reason the child is here in the first place.
Exactly.
Is that I moved in for the sneak attack.
All I'm trying
on the breast.
I'm not even
because I was concerned about self-care.
I was
not concerned about self-care at all.
I just want to enjoy because your boobs had never been so. See, here's the thing about women, pregnant women. That is a woman at her sexiest peak. Mm-hmm. And a lot of women I know go through this thing where they have high hormone content and they really, really want to have sex while they're pregnant. Mm-hmm. And some women don't. Mm-hmm. My wife was one of those women that felt great during pregnancy, but not sexy during pregnancy. Mm-hmm. But she looked extremely sexy.
Yeah, no, pregnancy.
During pregnancy.
Pregnancy does fantastic things, which is, again, a very fascinating thing about our culture because your wife is not alone in that. And,
no.
And a lot of females that I've talked to feel that way. But I know because I am actually an honest man, and I generally hang out with other honest men. There's nothing sexier than a lady who's pregnant.
There are a few things in my mind that are sexier than a pregnant woman just standing.
Yeah, no, just standing in place. Like my buddy,
And I don't have a pregnancy fetish, by the way. Like
right,
that's not what I'm talking about.
No, we're not talking. We're talking about attractive females here. But what I'm saying is like my buddy, he had a kid last year, and no, it was probably longer than that. I'm so bad at numbers. It was probably 2 years ago, close to 2 years ago now. And I remember his wife came by one time when he was getting tattooed, and she was pregnant. And I like looked at her, and I looked at him, and I looked at her, and I looked at him, and he's like, "Why are you looking at me like that?" And I'm like, "I'm really considering whether or not I have to end you." Because you're standing in the way of me and a very attractive lady.
Oh,
you know,
man.
and his wife, she like blushed, you know, and she was
Right.
like, well, that's nice. Thank you for saying that. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm not being nice right now. I'm literally thinking about killing your husband.
Like killing your husband and taking you home.
You know, like you're like, well, your wife wouldn't appreciate that, and I'm like, well, not today, but yeah.
You go full Riddick here. You keep what you kill.
But it's a funny thing because like people get like so uncomfortable about it. They're like, oh, I'm big and I'm fat and I'm this and that. And it's like, woman, you are, first of all, you are not big.
Not big in the least.
Second of all, you are certainly not fat.
Like
You're growing a human. There's a huge difference between putting on weight and growing another person.
That is so weird to me that pregnant women in general, look at a pregnant woman and think fat.
Yeah, no, I
Like,
don't.
dudes do not think that.
No,
dudes,
not at all.
Dudes do not think that at all.
Like this is one of those things where men and women differ in thought process,
Yeah.
and women have never really glommed onto the idea that we're not lying, we're not being nice.
So-
when we say pregnancy glow, we're not saying that you are looking motherly and holy.
Yeah, no.
We're saying like something that I really want to get at.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take them clothes off you, lady.
Yeah,
I'm
right,
sorry.
Right, but you're not sorry.
I'm not sorry.
No,
Sorry,
you're not.
not
You're,
sorry.
you're not sorry at all. But maybe we have stumbled upon an issue that is the reason we struggle with self-care. Because most humans, that's a gross generalization. A lot of humans enjoy sex.
Yeah, I would. You know what? I would go with the most.
Okay, and
Just like let's. 95% of human beings enjoy sex
that
in
seems,
one form or the other.
That seems high.
I don't think it's high.
I think that's high. And we're gonna have to get out.
Do you think you find
we're-
5% of any population in the world that's like, you know what, sex don't do it for me?
Yeah,
5%.
I really do.
I mean, I suppose you could say it
that'd be
was.
fucking hard.
We're gonna have to get out the Kinsey report, aren't we?
At the very least, we got to start with the Kinsey report. Like all sex conversations start with the Kinsey report.
How do I not know about the Latinians, but I know about the Kinsey report? This doesn't make any sense.
You had a very odd upbringing, Ben.
See, it's even higher because here's how I correlated
What?
it. Right? Yeah.
Go ahead.
I correlated it by searching for the percentage of asexual people in the world. Right. As of 2015, it says about 1% of the population is asexual.
No, see, you're,
1% of the population is asexual.
You're
Like-
looking at it wrong.
So we're okay. So how should we be looking at it? Like this is what like I am completely
how do you
against you on this.
correlate the statistic of enjoying sex?
There's no fucking way.
First of all,
more than 5% of the people on
I
this
don't
planet
know.
don't enjoy sex.
First of all, I don't know what correlate means, and second of all, I don't know how to make a statistic. But
Correlate is the action of someone from the country of Correlon.
right. So
but when the
when you
The
Correlonians
Correlonians.
when you correlate, is that
that's
There's a P in that word, not.
so? The reason I say it's much less is because I feel like if sex were enjoyed more, there would be more happy people.
okay. I see what you're saying. I see where you're going with it.
See, I'm
I just think
I'm a very happy person.
I don't think it's people don't enjoy sex. I think it's that people don't have enough sex.
They don't have enough sex.
I think people don't have enough sex.
Well, maybe it's that they don't have good sex.
Well, if they had more sex, more times, it would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, to out myself a little bit here.
By the way, we're podcasting at 302 Mantooth, Lufkin, Texas.
302 Mantooth, Texas.
The zip code is 75904. We're just off of downtown.
So, Flavor Ray, typically, if we're going by numbers historically, I have sex probably about 10, somewhere between 8 and 12 times a month.
Okay.
I'm told by a physician,
medical professional,
that is somewhere between 4 and 6 times more than the average. Which both shocked and horrified me.
Yeah.
When he told me this, because he told me this in the context he told me this in, he was shocked and horrified by my numbers. I'm like, yeah, 8 and 12 times. He's like, what did you just say?
Right.
That's not even. How do you work? Do you have like? And he was very confused, and I'm like, what? What is the deal? That's not even. Like, honestly, if we were,
he was concerned. He was concerned about your health.
He was concerned about my health. I was like, dude, when we're really at it, like during the Easter months, when I'm really like into it, it's like 20 times a month at least.
Did you say the Easter months?
Yeah, like when April and March, April. Those months.
What does that have to do with it?
It's springtime, dude. Didn't you ever fucking watch Bambi?
Look, I can't explain. Okay, fine. I'll keep talking about myself. During the Easter months, I like sex more during Easter months. Like all of my 2 girls, their both birthdays are in December.
Yeah.
Because I can barely control myself, around Easter time.
But
like it's just a fact. My wife has to take the one for the team.
Is it because
during those Easter months?
Is it because of?
That's how I imagine springtime goes for Flavor Ray.
Is it Jesus?
It's not Jesus.
Religion turns you on,
but it may have something to do with that rabbit.
Fucking rabbits, man.
That's hopping around.
So it's springtime.
Talking about it's like this. It's just a hormonal thing for me during the year. Like in the fall, like
when were you born?
I slept the other way. I was born. Where was I born?
When?
December 29th.
December? You were born in December?
Yeah.
Maybe it's genetic.
I was born in December 20th.
I wonder.
But like my brother's birthday is November, and my sister's birthday is in March.
That is weird. See, I have zero. I have zero different. Like, I do not like one month over another.
Like, dude, I vary wildly during the year. Like, right at the end of September, October, I'm really not interested all that much, and so then my numbers are like around 6, 7, 8.
Okay, you're not talking about yourself too much. People like to hear the sound of your voice, Flavor Ray. Don't, it's fine.
Well, I mean, it's just like, like I'm giving a lot of information. I don't care how many times you fuck. But I'm not saying that what I'm saying is, like, because I've had so much sex, I have good sex at least twice a month.
Yeah.
Like 12, 14. Like,
see,
I don't have good sex every time.
Right.
Like, when I say good sex, I mean, like, that, mind-blowing or orgasmic type sex. Like, that'll only happen 2, 3, maybe 4 times a month.
When you're, like the AC/DC style, you shook me.
You're referring to, like, when you're with a lady and she shudders for anywhere from, like, 2 to 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like,
I'm like riding that wave.
You're kind of like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
I might pull out and look at her, make fun of her.
By the way,
take pictures.
You can contact us at tattooedwithchildren@gmail.com.
Yeah.
If you want to get a recording of Pirate Ben saying, oh yeah.
You can also find us on social media.
So the interesting thing about that is, I come from a very large family. So I actually have 6 brothers and 1 sister. There's 8 of us. And there should have been, according to my count, which may or may not be wrong, somewhere between 11 and 12 of us. And there may still be, who's to say? But I think it was one of the weird things, like, even though we were, like, super religious and you couldn't curse or anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we knew, like, our parents liked to fuck.
Yeah.
Like, because, and by the way, it wasn't like hey, it's that time of month, Mom and Dad are going to fuck again, right?
Right.
It was like, hey, it's Tuesday, it's 3:45, which means mom and dad are taking a nap.
Right.
Air quotes.
Air quote nap.
And then it was like, hey, it's Thursday. Mom and dad are taking a nap. It's like Friday. Seriously, are they still in there? Like, is dad that? Like, what are they doing? You know, like it was like. I mean,
Yeah.
I literally like I don't. I think my dad probably rivaled you,
Yeah.
or had you beat a little.
I think he beat me.
Yeah.
In as far as like for me and my wife, it's more along like we do all of the cuddling and kissing in front of her. Like we never hide any of that shit.
Right.
But when it's time for business, it's always like, all right, looks like it's 8:30 time for bed. Kid's like 8:30. It's not. Yeah, it's time for you to go to bed.
It's time for bed, kids.
It's like get in the room.
Right.
And don't come out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
This
then
is for your own good.
I got caught by my oldest one time when she was younger. Hopefully she has no memory of this, but I think that she does.
Why are you wrestling?
Yeah.
Dude,
So
that story is so like I gotta tell it. I know probably not today, but
No,
that's
not today.
That's a horrible story.
it's a horrible story, but I don't know, man. Like, why? So you don't think that people have that the experience we're describing?
I think that they're not having it enough is the reason why I don't think that that sex is the key to happiness, but I do think that if you don't have enough sex, you go through your day a little pent up. You know, it's like there's just something underneath the surface that's keeping you from reaching your full happiness potential. It's just like a little holdback.
But see, the interesting thing about that is, I mean, I have two thoughts. The first one is that I don't know how anybody could get through a week without 2 to 8 minutes of happiness. But the other thing that strikes me that I'm going to go back to from a few minutes ago is maybe you hit upon why we're so confused about self-care. Because we enjoy sex, some percentage of the population.
Some percentage of the population do.
And that act that we enjoyed produced another human.
Correct.
And that human is now completely reliant on you to survive.
Also correct.
And is more expensive than the nicest car you can afford.
That is also correct.
Let's not mince words, people. Children are expensive.
Not only they're expensive, there are many other negative things.
Yeah, but let's not get into that. I mean, but do you see what I'm saying? So, in other words, something that made you happy that could be called self-care. I'm not calling sex self-care at this point, but I'm saying it could be resulted in
a responsibility.
And not just a little responsibility, the responsibility of a lifetime.
Yes. 10,000 years of pain.
Right. I have 2 daughters and a son, so yeah, it's arguable. I mean, I'm in the early stages of 10,000 years of pain.
It's pretty rough.
You are just turning around and realizing that they are behind you.
Right, yeah. It's a Naruto reference, people. Don't worry about it. But that could explain, I think, a little bit of why we struggle with this concept so much, because something that we enjoyed ended up becoming something that we do not that we were not prepared for. We did not recognize that this moment of and I wonder if that's also a part of the conversation that we have to have is, in other words, when you do something good for yourself, okay? What
are you prepared to face the consequences?
Yes. Are you? Because I'm not saying that self-care results in children.
I'm getting your point,
but there's also consequences.
There are consequences to caring for yourself, which is, I think, one reason we don't like to have the conversation, and I think it's also one reason that we're not sure what we want.
I think that is probably the core of the issue. Like it's what Mike said earlier. Said, part of the self-care, like I don't know what to buy. I don't know, because it's not that you don't know what you like per se. You don't know what you buy is going to get you happy enough to deal with
The consequences.
the debt involved.
So let's say that you were to decide that an elegant sports car were the way that you cared, that was the type of self-care. You wanted to buy yourself a smooth ride.
Sure.
There is a lot of immediate consequences to that.
Yes, right away.
I mean, first of all, you live in Texas, so there is a variety of animals that can damage your car.
The insurance on a car that is above a certain price limit
Right.
is ruinous.
Well, and it's 206, which means that in the next 60 minutes in the part of Texas we live in, everything could be on fire, could be flooding, ice could fall from the sky, we could have an infestation of frogs or insects.
There could be, and I'm not even exaggerating here, people. There could be a full-on tornado hit this block in the next hour.
Yeah. Or it could be possibly the nicest day that makes you think of April
Right.
that you've ever seen.
It's just Texas.
We have no way of knowing.
It's just East Texas. It's how we roll.
Right. So then the insurance, then I assume you didn't buy this for cash, but let's assume you did buy it for cash.
Sure. Let's say no debt.
Yeah, no debt is involved. Now you have your friends and your neighbors, and you have their opinions.
Exactly. You have if you're married and you did this, you're going to have to explain to her why she can't drive it. You're going to say it's for me, and I can tell you how that conversation is going to end. Not good.
Well, I mean, for you, it's not going to end good because she's going to be driving.
Because she's going to be driving your car.
So and again, we haven't even really talked through that issue, and we found a shit ton of consequences.
Yeah, like there are like 7 consequences right away.
Right.
And so what happens? Well, you go to the store, you go to the dealership, and you look at the car, and the guy goes, "Hey, man, you look good in that car." And you go, "No, I look fucking great in that car." And you guys talk and you haggle, and then before you can sign the contract, those dozen things all come into your mind.
So then that happens for 20 years, right there, what you just described. And then in 2019, someone says to you, "What do you want?" And you say, "I don't know. I don't know what
You
I
either
want."
say, "I don't know," or more than likely, you say, "I don't want anything. My life is great." And it's true. Your life is great. But it's not true that you don't want anything. See, that is, if that were true, that you don't want anything, then I wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Right.
Because I could go outside of this building and talk to 20 people, and they would all say, "I'm great, I'm happy, everything's fine." I can't do that with one person today.
No.
Not one person.
Right.
I love having conversations. I love people. So I attempt conversations all the time with people. The conversations I have all revolve around how things are going wrong, how things are hard, how things are difficult. Like, people aren't feeling great right now. You know, it's just a fact. Like, if you're feeling great right now, contact me on social media or in person or wherever and have a conversation with me, because I want to talk to you. I want to talk about how great you're feeling. But most of us aren't feeling all that great, which is fine. You know, I mean, just the way that we are is where we're at.
I'm not sure it really is.
I don't know. Like, it's not fine in the sense that it shouldn't change, but I mean, it's fine in the sense of I don't feel bad that you feel bad.
Yeah.
But I do think that is a cause for conversation.
Yeah.
You know, I think that is a cause for, like, okay, if you don't feel great, why? You know, it's okay, well, you know, it's just this, that, and the other. I said, well, when's the last time you did something for yourself? Like, ask an experiment. Just go out and ask every adult you see for the next 3 days.
Yeah.
When last time you did something for yourself?
Well, but that's interesting because this comes back to it brings up another interesting point, which is maybe for a later time. I don't know. You tell me, right?
Sure.
Which is love.
Okay.
Now,
we can go with this.
I have a completely different concept of love from anyone I've ever heard.
Okay.
I don't believe.
He's hesitating because he knows there's a consequence
To what I'm about to
for what
say.
he's about to say. He's
But-
judging if it's worth it right now.
Yeah, so I don't know that I agree. I'm still working with this concept. I've been working with it my whole life, but I don't really. I can say that I don't really agree that we experience love correctly. In other words, we believe that other people can love us.
Okay.
And I don't know that I agree with that. I don't know that I consider that to be a true statement.
Okay.
So, in other words, if you and I were to say, well, Ray, I just get such good feelings when I'm around you. I love you, and
Right.
I feel like you love me, you
Right.
know. So we can start to get it on.
Right.
We can hold hands when we go out in public. We can right, and so now I associate these feelings with you.
Right.
And then you come and tell me, you say, hey, Ben, my wife is not okay with me hanging out with you anymore. So I'm going to have to go away. And so I say, oh, well, now I'm depressed because I can't experience love anymore.
Right.
Okay, so that's normally, so some version of that is what happens when we're young.
Version, yeah.
Yeah, okay, when you're young and you're trying to hook up with someone.
Right.
Or when you're old. And so now the love is gone. What the thrill is gone.
Right, the thrill is gone. You took your love away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, I don't know that I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't.
So what I think happens is that love is already inside me,
Right.
and I can experience it as a feeling. I can also experience it as an emotion. Probably more accurately, I can experience it as energy.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And it is true that I did not allow myself to experience that until you came around.
Right.
But see, I believe the causation was not you.
Right.
The cause
Correlation
was,
does not imply causation.
Okay, thank you for being scientific there.
That's actually for my wife.
Okay, perfect. I don't think that's what happened. See, I think we apply something to it.
Uh-huh.
And I started being able to say it better when I started listening to Gary Vee, because he would say things like, you're saying that because you made this Instagram post and no one saw it, that you're a bad person.
Right.
That you can't draw a correlation between those two.
Right. Yeah.
The one has nothing to do with the other.
other.
But why do we apply as humans that the appearance of this human in my vision, okay, or in my
means are giving me something that I'm taking in that is making me happy.
See, that is not the case.
Ben is not alone. Like, I've heard this before, because Ben is not alone in this philosophy. Many modern philosophers have been struggling with the concept of love because it's illogical to think that a person can come up to you and interact with you in any fashion and give you something that makes you feel a certain way and take that thing away. Mm-hmm. Like, those two things don't make any sense. If somebody gives you something, then it's yours.
Right.
And they can't take it back. We say, well, that person left me, or they said this bad thing about me.
That person was not love. That person's name is Jennifer.
Exactly. That wasn't what happened. So it's the question becomes, in philosophical terms, that all right, either you're wrong about love, the nature of love, or love doesn't actually exist, and you're feeling something completely different. Mm-hmm. You're feeling yourself. You're feeling chemicals. You're like, I've heard a whole slew of things instead of love that you could be experiencing. Mm-hmm. I think that the truth is in the middle. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that love is a concept that's very difficult for us to express because it doesn't really exist in a material form. You can't measure it. You can't taste it. But it's a part of you on the soul level. Okay? There's a part of you on the metaphysical level. And because it's on the metaphysical level, we know that it's real because the only things that we can tell for sure are real are the things on the metaphysical level. Like, we know that we exist because we know that we exist. That is how we know that we exist. Okay, that is a metaphysical. That is not a physical.
Can you mark that time
material
down? That's a very good time to
take
cut
a little,
that. I know.
Cut that out.
Yeah, I want to be able to cut that out and play that several more times. I think he repeated himself like 8 times right there.
Yeah.
That was good. That definitely defined it differently for me.
I like the compliment and the cut. Slice him, but soothe it.
By the way, listener, I am not asking CIO Payne to edit that. I'm asking him to make it I think the kids are calling them GIFs.
Yeah, that'll be like a quick cut in a advertisement. But getting back to what I was saying, basically, we know what we are because we know what we are, and that is the thing that is the primary focus of our existence. So, since that's not something that we can measure, but something that we know is true, it's metaphysical, it's not physical. Love is the same way. Like, I know that I love my kids because I know it, like bone deep. When my child was born, there was no doubt in any part of me of what I was experiencing. It was actual love. And because I was able to identify that absolutely in that moment, I was able to recognize it better in my other relationships. If my child goes away, she doesn't take my love for her with her. That's mine. If I go away, I don't take my love for my child with me. That's hers. And if my wife leaves me, we will never be disconnected. Okay? Right. If my wife dies, or if she goes finds another man, if my wife sues me and takes everything I own and never lets me see my kids again, we're never going to be disconnected because my love for her is mine forever, and I will never let it go.
So it's not bound geographically, and to an extent, one could make the argument that it's also not bound relationally.
Exactly.
Which is again a much deeper philosophical point. That in other words, you, from your perspective, you do not love your daughter because she exists.
No.
You have now chosen to love both her existence, but also the memory of what she was, the memory of what she will be, the hope, the
hope, the feeling, the promise.
Right. So if geographically she said, "Well, Dad, I'm going to go to Antarctica and stay there forever,"
yeah,
she didn't take your love away.
No,
your love is still the same.
If she tells me, like, hey, this guy says you're bad, I can never speak to you again. I will feel bad. I will feel pain, but it does not change my love for her. It's because love isn't a thing that you give. It's a thing that is, just like you are. Does that make any sense to you guys? It's and so once you get into that mode of thinking, it makes sense as to why people say things like you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else. If you don't have love within yourself, acknowledge love within yourself, how can you possibly apply that to another person? But you try to do it the exact opposite way.
Right. We say, well, I love someone else, so therefore I'm going to apply that same thing to me. But the interesting thing is, how could you even care for something that you don't love?
And so we see the importance of self-care. Right?
I think so.
How do I care for my daughter if I can't care for me? How do I care for my wife if I can't care for me?
Right. How can you care for any of these things if you don't love them? In other words, no one has to remind me to take care of this building.
Right.
And
no one has to remind me to make sure that my daughter has eaten.
Correct. No one has to. If you love an animal, if you love a tree, if you love a concept, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, I'm very sorry, but if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, no one has to remind you to check on them,
right?
Because you love them.
You love them, and you're going to do it automatically. You care for them.
Yeah, 100%.
But how many of you, and I want you to be honest with you, I'm talking to the mothers, talking to the house husbands and the grandparents, how many of you made lunch for a child and then ate something of lesser quality to get yourself through the day?
Yep. How many of you said, I forgot?
I forgot to eat today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we experienced that during this podcast. I started noticing that I was losing my attention. So, in other words, I was losing the ability to give a shit about what you were saying.
Right.
And so I started texting one of my coworkers, David, and I said he could be found at St. David Inc. And I said, hey, are you going out for food? And he said, yeah, what do you want? Well, then I realized that Mike had brought in quiche from Standpipe Coffee House.
Right.
And I'm like, why am I sending someone for food when food is already available? This doesn't make any damn sense.
Right.
And so right in the middle of one of your sentences, I mean, listener, you can go back and listen. You hear the door open and you hear the door shut. Yeah, I just went and got a piece of quiche, and I came back and I fucking fed my face so that I could pay attention.
Yeah.
Now, again, that's unusual for me, actually.
It is very unusual. It was an unusual thing to witness.
It's unusual for me to not forget. Normally, I forget. Normally, I forget to feed myself.
Normally, yes.
Because other people are important, or I'm too busy.
But he'll never forget to feed his employees. It's over and over again. It was like, hey, Katie, David, go eat.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, well, do you want anything? Like, if you bring food back here, I'll eat it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll come up here with food just for Ben.
Yeah.
And we'll go through the podcast and we're talking. It's 3 hours later, and I'll leave and I'll go, hey, Ben, by the way, eat the fucking food I brought.
Right, yeah. And every time that's happened, I have eaten it and I have enjoyed it. But every time that's happened, I have also set the food to the side and promptly forgot that it exists.
Yes, immediately.
And so it's a fascinating. I think that has to do, though.
I can't do that.
With
food in front of me gets eaten.
Yeah, no.
Well, you're a deviant. That's
right. You're one of those.
You're one of those people.
You're one of those people.
Selfish bastard.
Yeah. I would actually say that my psychosis is probably worse than whatever Mike's is.
1,000 times. Probably,
yeah,
yes.
I
don't know what it is that is in. I don't know what it is that is in me that prevents me from partaking of even the smallest pleasures at times, without a ulterior motive of doing it for somebody else. Like it's a problem that I recognize intensely, and I can't seem to change it because the instinct to not do it is so ingrained at this point. Like I can't even I often one of my greatest joys is playing video games.
Uh-huh.
And there's a bunch of great video games out right now that I could buy and play.
Right,
Not made by Electronic Arts.
And if you would listen, would listen to your friend, the Dread Pirate Benjamin, you would realize how much money you could make playing those games.
Yes, it would it's a win-win-win-win, and I can't force myself to A, spend the money, and B, spend the time.
Right.
Because that's the other investment is time.
Which is weird, though, because I don't think you like being a loser.
No, I don't. I hate being a loser. It's not a thing that I enjoy.
Right.
But I will pick up a loser habit.
We have such a weird, fucked up relationship with responsibility.
And we have a real fucked responsibility, a fucked relationship with responsibility and with consequences. Because because the consequence is if I spend time on myself doing things just for me, then my wife can come to me and say, "Hey, your daughter's depressed because she hasn't seen you enough." I go, "Well, I did work 16 hours, and then I did podcasts for 4, and then I had to do some side business stuff for another 3. So there was only about 2 hours left, and so I spent that eating and sleeping." You know, and so I'll but I hear what you're saying. I'm going to make more time, and so rather than do what I want to do or do the self-care thing, then I will spend more time with my daughter, as I feel that I should for her. But that may not be true. I may need to spend that time on me, and then give her something better after that.
I've been throwing people off recently by saying I'm talking to myself more. And they say, "Well, what do you mean?" And I say, "Well, I'm having conversations with myself." I think a bird just flew into the window.
Wow,
Nice.
that was
Yeah, I'm going to say there's a dead bird outside the window. I
Okay,
kind of want to see what kind it is. But
yeah. We'll check that in a second.
But I've noticed over the last, it's been since we've started the podcast, I'm definitely talking to myself more. And even I would say my thought processes are becoming more conversational.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I've been really fascinated by this experience of recording my voice and with you guys and listening to it and finding out things I didn't know about myself. And I don't really like that. I don't really like finding out something from a podcast that I didn't know about myself.
Discovering it.
Yeah, and so I listened to the podcast. I listened to episode 11 last night, and I was like, "Who the fuck is that guy? That's really weird. Like, why does he think? Oh, that's me."
Yeah, it's that prohibition against knowing yourself, which I'm going to get back into that particular subject on a later podcast as well, because that's a deep one.
Let's this might be a two-parter. We might pick self-care up on Monday.
I will say this though, guys. In closing, a lot of times we go through a lot of hard things in life, and it's a struggle. Don't hesitate to stop. Just to put everything on hold. Stop. Don't go home right away. Don't do that family function right away. If you can't do it, self-care is one thing, but survival is another. And so the thing you have to do to survive, go ahead and do that first. Because a lot of us aren't making it right now. It's really bothering me right now to the point of tears forming, because I have friends currently who I know aren't going to make it. And this is the reason why. Because they had that moment when they knew that they were about to make a mistake because they were too far gone, and they didn't stop. So guys, take care of yourselves as best you can, but always survive. All right? That's just from me, Flavor Ray, to you, my best friends in the world. You ever listen to Tattoo with Children? I've been your host, Flavor Ray. You can find us on Instagram at Tattoo with Children and on Facebook at Tattoo with Children. You can find us on Twitter at Tattooed With. You can find me on Twitter at Hunter Vanguard. That's one word, Hunter Vanguard. You can find me on Instagram at Madara Shadow. You can find Ben at Black Crow Brother on Instagram. You can find him also on Black Spot Tattoo Company on Instagram. You can find Mike Payne at CIO Payne on Instagram and also at Payne.points on Instagram. That's Payne, spelled Payne. Guys, love yourselves and love each other, and always hold on to that love.
See you.
Later.
Portion of its rap at the core is ancient. It's supported like a pack of some more observations are important, like the fact that we're bored of fake shit. More creative, have the floor, so take it. Travel to the core